You may have heard that Maxine Waters made a threat against the jurors in the Chauvin trial this past weekend. It was big news. Now there are some Republicans calling for her to be expelled, Marjorie Taylor Greene. There's calls for her censure, and even some Democrats may be getting on board. Maxine Waters basically said that if they don't get a first-degree murder conviction, which Chauvin wasn't charged with, they have to get more active and more confrontational. As you know, they've already been rioting. It's been pretty serious. There's been, I guess, mass gunshots. You just hear these videos where it's like 30 gunshots ringing out. I don't think these people need to get any more confrontational. In fact, they need to tone things down. Well, Maxine Waters basically made a threat against the jury. That's the way it was stated, essentially in the trial. And the judge in the case, Judge Cahill, said that the statements from Maxine Waters very well may overturn the entire trial, which is a shocking admission. Now, Maxine Waters has the gall to go on CNN and claim it never happened. They never said it. Don't trust what you see with your eyes and hear with your ears. It never happened. No, they didn't. They didn't say that. And CNN's like, yeah, the judge literally said they might overturn the trial because of what you did. I can't say I'm surprised. I don't know if it's Maxine Waters just being really old and not being able to think clearly and understand what's going on. You know, with all due respect, I mean, look, you're not as sharp as you used to be, Kerosene Maxine. She's from California. She comes to this riot zone and she tells people to get more active and more confrontational. Of course, Black Lives Matter supporters are saying that she never called for violence and she's talking about civil rights, blah, blah, blah. Dude, I don't care. Even Chris Cillizza of CNN wrote an op-ed saying Maxine Waters just made everything go from bad to worse or something to that effect. And he's right. She made a volatile situation much worse. Yes, she did. So you might even see some Democrats joining Kevin McCarthy. But I'll tell you this. You know, I don't blame Maxine Waters for being a bombastic inciter of insurrection necessarily. First and foremost, yes, that's her fault for doing it. Okay. Let me rephrase that. It's her fault for inciting insurrection. That I understand. But the problems that we're seeing, well, at a certain point, responsibility of the courts has to come into play. The defense was asking for sequestration of the jury for a very long time, and the judge repeatedly denied it. Look, man, I'm kind of bummed on this. I thought Judge Cahill is a pretty good dude. I've been watching this trial. I think he's been pretty fair and reasonable, and he's trying to do a good job. But now I question his capabilities. He was told this is a major story with unprecedented press attention. And that judge is like, so what? And the state says these other riots have nothing to do with this case. The jury understands that. Dude, one of the jurors lives in the city where the riots are happening, Brooklyn Center. And the judge goes yesterday, I believe that was an alternate who he dismissed. And the defense goes, no, Your Honor, no. And he's like, are you sure? And he's like, I believe that's not true, Your Honor. And the judge is like, oh, I'll have to, are you sure? And the defense is like, I'll check. I didn't even know. One of the jurors lives in the city where they're rioting, has to commute through the riots. The people coming to this trial for Chauvin are driving past boarded up windows. It's shocking to me that the judge is admitting Maxine Waters' statements could cause the whole trial to be overturned. And yet he's the one who denied sequestration. Let me go back in time, and then I'll show you what Maxine Waters had the gall to say. We're going to jump way back to November 5th, 2020. Judge, Floyd trial will stay in Minneapolis and can be live streamed. Defense attorneys wanted the trial to be relocated out of concerns about safety and an impartial jury. Amazing. The defense knew exactly what needed to happen. The judge said no. Wow. This is from, remember, November of last year. They say in a number of other rulings, Cahill also joined the trials of four other officers together, blah, blah, blah. So I can't believe that we go back this far and we know exactly what's going on. They should have been sequestered the whole time. Defense attorneys for the former officers had argued the trial should be moved, pointing to protesters who harassed attorneys and defendants following previous hearings. While Cahill said he finds those safety concerns credible, he said they don't support a change of venue, but better safety planning. Moving venue to a smaller county will not assuage the defendant's security concerns, but instead is likely to heighten those concerns because the relevant courthouse would certainly be smaller than the Hennepin County Government Center. Defense attorneys had also argued that pretrial publicity may have caused potential jurors to be biased. But Cahill said no corner of the state of Minnesota has been shielded from pretrial publicity regarding the death of George Floyd, and that moving the trial likely wouldn't make a difference. Cahill said he's willing to reconsider as the case develops. Floyd's family and many supporters opposed moving the trials, as we understand. Quote, Massive pre-trial publicity is no longer a compelling factor to move a trial in the age of internet. It's an interesting point, but they're basically saying because the internet is so pervasive and powerful, we just should give up on the rights of the individual, the right to a fair trial. I'm sorry. I do not believe that is a fair thing to say. In a number of other rulings Thursday, Cahill also joined the trials of other 4 officers, outlined a plan for keeping jurors anonymous, and partially sequestered during the trial, and announced he will allow the trial to be live streamed. Now, that was cool. I'm glad he allowed the trial to be live streamed. But partial sequestration basically just meant he told the jury, please avoid media about the case. That's it. Please avoid media about the case. The defense said later on, just the other day, like, even when you're watching TV shows, they're talking about George Floyd. This was last week. Chauvin trial judge denies request for jury sequestration after police shooting. Incredible. On April 12th, it was reported by NPR. The defense said, please sequester the jury, meaning they don't get access to information. They need to be impartial as the facts stand and not be influenced by threats or riots or news. And the judge said, no. And now here we are. My words don't matter. Maxine Waters brushes off Chauvin judge who warned that her calls for BLM protests to be more confrontational could overturn a whole case after defense accused her of intimidating the jury. It's a fair accusation, in my opinion. They say Congresswoman Maxine Waters denied on Monday interfering in the trial of Derek Chauvin as the jury retired, claiming that the judge overseeing the former policeman's case said her provocative words don't matter, despite his condemning her actions in court as abhorrent. Waters, a Democrat representing California, sparked outrage by traveling to Minneapolis on Saturday and urging protesters to get more confrontational if Chauvin was acquitted. Her remarks on the eve of the jury retiring to consider its verdict were widely condemned and may, it emerged, have handed Chauvin's defense grounds for appeal and the turning over of any guilty verdict. That is a Democrat who did that. They may find this man guilty and then a couple weeks later, whatever, appeal, boom, free to go. Mistrial, whatever, I don't know. And then what? More riots? You betcha. When pressed, this is amazing. Yet Waters, 82, defiantly insisted on Monday afternoon that she stood by her words. The judge says my words don't matter, she told CNN, in one of the most bald-faced lies we have ever seen from a politician. Just straight up saying, not true. When pressed on the judge stating that her remarks could be grounds for appeal, she replied, oh, no, they didn't. These people are sick. You know what's really sad to me, though? Maxine Waters knows that she can spit in your face and she'll still get elected. Isn't it great how this system works? How dumb. She's in what, like a D+20 district? She's not going to lose because the people there don't care about politics and they vote for her for no good reason. And then she lies. And so what? She insisted she was entirely justified in her call to action, saying the whole civil rights movement is confrontational. But like burning down buildings and throwing bricks. Okay, you know what, man? Earlier on Monday, Waters' comments were seized upon by Chauvin's legal team and criticized by the judge. Speaking after the jury was sent out Monday afternoon, Chauvin's attorney, Eric Nelson, once again made a bid to have the case against his client thrown out on the grounds there was no way the jury could be untainted by the excessive publicity surrounding the case. Now that we have U.S. representatives threatening acts of violence in relation to this trial, it's frankly mind-blowing. Taking it into consideration, Judge Peter Cahill said, I grant that Congresswoman Waters may have given you something on appeal that may result in this whole trial being overturned. Judge Cahill denied Nelson's move for a mistrial, but he said, I wish elected officials would stop talking about this case. They should respect a co-equal branch of government. He said that a failure to do so was abhorrent, but added, I don't think it's given additional material with which to prejudice the jury. A congresswoman's opinion really doesn't matter a whole lot. All right, that's it. Judge Cahill is like trying to get a guilty verdict. I think the politics of this case are do everything you can to get Chauvin to lock him up. It's really amazing. I got to be honest. When I'm seeing this story from back in November talking about the officers and what they've been charged with, let me show you something. In this photo, they say former Minneapolis police officer Thomas Lane leaves the Hennepin County Family Justice Center after a pre-trial hearing on September 11th in Minneapolis. Lane is charged with aiding and abetting second-degree manslaughter in the death of George Floyd. Aiding and abetting second-degree manslaughter. And now that we know that the officers were seriously struggling with Floyd. Now that we know that according to police protocol, they were entitled to use more force than they did, not that they should have, they're still trying to make it seem like these people were out to cause a death. The most amazing thing to me is that the only thing they could do to make this case happen was charge Chauvin with felony assault. The only possible way they could try and get a murder charge against him was the felony murder rule. Okay, if a cop is getting a priority call to detain someone who's actively resisting and almost actively aggressing because Floyd was kicking, not like kicking people in the face, but like he was on the ground and he was like kicking his legs up and down there trying to hold his legs down. It was near active aggression. And that's what we heard from the prosecution's own witness. And so they're trying to hold him to the ground. Meanwhile, people are crowding around and screaming. Are you saying that officers aren't allowed to detain someone and it's assault? It's the most psychotic thing I've ever heard. The officers are instructed to do a job to arrest somebody. I'm not saying they should or it's good. I'm saying if you got a problem with the system is at fault. In the end, no matter what happens, the state wins. Let me tell you why. This officer, Chauvin, and the four other officers detain George Floyd. They hold him down. If Chauvin is convicted, literally the state prosecution gets their scapegoat and says, aha, we win. If Chauvin wins, then the state is basically winning on the grounds that the officers are allowed to do what they do. If you have a problem with what the officers did, then you shouldn't be happy no matter what happens. And I see people saying, no, the people win if Chauvin is convicted. No, literally, it's the state versus Chauvin. The state literally wins on paper if Chauvin goes to prison. If Chauvin doesn't go to prison, then the state wins on the grounds that the police department was justified in their use of force. Now, I'm not saying they weren't. That's a different argument. It's a political argument. I'm saying the activists should be more focused on that. Instead, they just want a symbol to attack. They want Chauvin. They don't care about the police department. I mean, they want to abolish the police. That's fair. But what does it matter if Chauvin is the guy who gets arrested? It's a waste of time. It's a scapegoat. They're going to say, see, we arrested the guy. He committed the crime. It's basically the state saying it's his fault. His heart was too small. Bro, you hire these people and you tell them what to do. Now you're claiming it's assault. It's felony assault to put a guy in the ground who's actively resisting. What would have happened if Chauvin used a taser? The prosecution's own witness said he was allowed to do it. It's incredible. So now, because they were trying to detain a guy who was resisting, they're charging the other four cops, I think it is, with aiding and abetting a manslaughter. This is absolute insanity. I'm not happy with the system. I'm not a fan of the current police system as we have it or the criminal justice system. I think it needs reform. I do think it's better than most countries. Don't get me wrong. Our prison system needs to be completely overhauled. Yeah, man, I look at Norway and they got a good prison system. Sure. We need to make changes. You know, but now we're going to have riots. Waters, they're going to say, had joined protesters at the Minneapolis suburb of Brooklyn Center on Saturday night for a demonstration over the death of Daunte Wright. Waters told the protesters that she will fight for justice on their behalf and urged them to get more confrontational just one day after riots. They say protests descended into violence. I hope we get a verdict that says guilty, 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 she said. And if we don't, we cannot go away. We've got to stay in the street. We've got to, we get more active. We've got to get more confrontational. We've got to make sure they know that we mean business. The important thing that's omitted from most of the quotes is that she specifically said, it's first degree murder. It's first degree murder. That means premeditation. That means Chauvin looked at Floyd and decided to kill the man. They're going to say Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell likewise went after Waters on Monday, telling colleagues it's harder to imagine anything more inappropriate than a member of Congress flying in from California to inform local leaders, not so subtly, that this defendant had better be found guilty or else there will be big trouble in the streets. The Kentucky Republican said that Waters' demand for a guilty verdict was like somebody window shopping or ordering off a menu. Every single American deserves a fair trial. This is sacred. You do not balance the scales of justice by trying to tip them. The top Senate Republican noted that though much of the country's quest for civil rights and equal justice has been the fight to get rid of extrajudicial violence, to get rid of rigged trials where the outcome was modeled by public sentiment or angry mob, it is beyond the pale for a sitting member of the United States Congress to look at what happened last summer and imply that there should be some kind of sequel if a legal case does not unfold as she thinks it should. Kevin McCarthy is going a little bit further. House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy took her criticism even further, saying that he is introducing a motion to censure Waters and claimed that up to 15 Democrats could vote for the motion. So what? Marjorie Taylor Greene, for all her faults, is the only one actually doing anything. Censure? Do you guys know what censure means? It means they're going to go, oh, crazy Maxine, don't you say those things. That's it. They bring her up. She sits down and they say, we are outraged. Have a nice day, ma'am. Marjorie Taylor Greene wants to get her expelled. But you know what, man? It's performative trash. The Republican Party is trash. I don't care. They're garbage. They've been garbage forever, as long as I've known. And I think it's funny when people are like, but it's better, we can't let the Democrats win. Fair point. The Democrats are worse in a lot of ways. But you know what I can give the Democrats credit for? Maxine Waters flew out and tried inciting an insurrection. Or I should say, incited insurrection that was ongoing. Like they're burning down. They're trying to set fire to police stations. They've literally set fire to police stations. They opened fire, or someone opened fire on National Guardsmen. Certain point, that's insurrection. And it was only a few hours after Maxine Waters said this, that happened. So what do the Republicans do? Oh, we're going to wag our finger at this lady. Wow. Good job. I think it was funny. I think it was Jack Posobiec. He tweeted something like, Republicans would be moving to expel or impeach, someone like Trump if he said anything close to what Maxine Waters said. You know it. The Republicans are basically Democrat light, where for the most part, they just say, they pretend like they're opposed to Democrats, but do nothing in actuality to stop anything the Democrats do. Like, think about how pathetic Kevin McCarthy is right now, calling for censure. Is that it? Is that all you can muster? Then you don't deserve to win elections. Sorry, I don't care. A lot of people tell me, Tim, you have to be responsible and vote for Republicans because, the Democrats and the wokeness and the critical theory and the lies and deception. I get the point. But sorry, it's like, am I gonna vote for someone and pretend like we're actually getting security in this country? When the Democrats are talking, when Maxine Waters literally calls for violence and tries to incite an insurrection, the Republicans go, I'm going to wag my finger. The Democrats literally impeached Donald Trump when he wasn't the president. Or I'm sorry, he was. And then the trial happened after he wasn't. The Democrats are willing to go nuclear to such an extent, they will try to convict someone who isn't even the president anymore. Meanwhile, the Republican Party sits there and says, oh, crazy Maxine, we're gonna bring you in and we're going to yell at you. How incredible is that? Man, Republicans. I don't know if Republicans were more adamant back in the day, but I can tell you this. Mitch McConnell is saying a whole lot of nothing. Do we really need to hear from Mitch McConnell and Kevin McCarthy saying what everyone already knows and thinks and then do nothing about it? Incredible. Do nothing about it. Okay. So you want me to go vote in 2022? I'm not convinced that's going to happen. Maybe. A lot of people are pointing out, you don't know how bad it's going to get. It's 2021, blah, blah, blah. All right. So maybe in a year and a half, we'll see. But I'm leaning towards, I doubt it. I seriously doubt it. Look, Donald Trump was something different. I don't like Donald Trump for a lot of reasons, but I supported a lot of the policies he was proposing. And at least he opposed the critical race theory nonsense and opposed the rioting. That's something we need. Better than what Biden offers. Biden's making everything worse. I thought the riots were supposed to stop once Biden became president. No, apparently in Biden's America, it's even worse because now it's not about Trump. Now it's just proof the whole thing was a farce the whole time, and they're just violent people. So you want me to come in 2022 and vote for these Republicans? I don't know, man. Maybe. But I look at what they do with power. Nothing. It's a waste of my time. It's a waste of everyone's time. At a certain point, if they're not supporting us, why would I support them? And I get it. Some people are like, at least you're closing the door on Democrats for the time being. They may not be pulling people out of the burning building, but they're, stopping the fire from spreading a little bit. And I'm like, nah, it's a waste of my time. The only way the Republicans are going to learn is if people just stop voting for them. The Democrats are going to keep winning because they just lie all the time. Maxine Waters goes on CNN and says, Judge never said that. Nope. Judge didn't say that. Didn't happen. Amazing. I'm impressed that people believe this woman. So I don't know what you'd expect of me. Just to blindly be like, I must support the Republicans because Democrats are bad is just, it's not something I think is reasonable. Now, this week, we've already seen large protests. We've already seen the thousands of National Guard get deployed, and things seemed fairly calm yesterday. I think no matter what happens, there will be some kind of riot, but I do believe, I would lean towards this. If Chauvin is convicted on all counts, I think there won't be very serious riots. I really don't. I think it might be moderate. I think you might see raucous protests and clashes with cops. I don't think it'll be like the entire city burning to the ground. If he's acquitted in any capacity, in any of the charges, murder 2, murder 3, whatever, then I think they light everything up. They burn to the ground. Now, I was hanging out with DC Riot Bros, Jorge Ventura and Richie McGinnis the other day on the IRL podcast, and they weren't necessarily of the opinion that things will get worse. And I think they make a good point. And I'll say it in my own words because I don't want to put words in their mouth. We had this lockdown going on for a long time, several months, and people were losing their minds. Now things have kind of eased a whole lot. Jobs are coming back and people feel a bit more stable now. Back last year when the riots reached the worst we'd seen in years and decades, people had nothing to do, nowhere to go, and so they were out in the streets. Now people are working a bit. Not completely. Some of these cities are still locked down quite a bit, but people have gotten back to their lives a little bit, which may mean this won't be nearly as bad. But I think if they acquit Chauvin of all counts, then you better get ready. You better get ready for what's coming from Minnesota and the rest of this country. Acquitted of on all counts, free to go. That means the other cops are getting let go as well. And the media has been lying to the American public for so long that they think Chauvin is about to get convicted on all counts. They really believe that. I don't think the state's proven their case. Several legal analysts have said something similar. So we'll see, man. We will see. I think politics plays a role. I think Maxine Waters did taint the jury, and I think it's possible we get a political guilty verdict. It's easy to say because it's, if he's proven guilty, I'll be like, everyone will say this. Oh, you see, the jury was tainted. Maybe they just found him guilty. Maybe they genuinely believed he did something wrong because the prosecution didn't, blow the entire case. They made some good points that may have swayed the jury for sure. Hung jury is possible. And no matter what happens, everyone's going to say, I knew it. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. We'll see. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up on this channel at 1 p.m. Thanks for hanging out, and I will see you all then.